Welcome to Master of Chemistry. Word of warning, in this video, I'm going to be talking about puking, I'm going to be talking about diarrhea and bleeding during pregnancy, because I'm going to tell you about what happened that led to my subchorionic hemorrhage and threatened miscarriage during my 4th pregnancy in this series, My Final Pregnancy Journey. My husband and I weren't doing very well getting ready for Christmas in December of 2017. He had just recently taken a job in November, which made him work 4 hours away during the work week while I took care of my 2 children at home, who at that time were 4 and 7. And we were gonna go to my parents for the weekend to celebrate Christmas early. And we needed to do some shopping. So we dropped the kids off on the Friday because Saturday was going to be the celebration. We headed to the mall. At that time, I was 11 weeks pregnant. I was looking at shoes because I was a bridesmaid in my brother's upcoming wedding. And all of a sudden, I just got this like slam in my abdomen, this cramping. And then I realized I need to find a bathroom right now. So I decided to go and find the bathroom that's like the main mall bathroom, which ended up being, I don't know, felt like a half mile away. Looking back, I should have just used a Macy's bathroom, but it wasn't processing. When you need to go and you have a goal, you go. So I half jogged, ran to the bathroom. And when I got there, of course, it was just starting to be cleaned, so I couldn't use it. It was closed. So then I had to go into the next store. So I knew JCPenney had a bathroom and I knew where that was at. So I went into the bathroom and I think I was in there for a good 30 minutes. Diarrhea like I've never had before, and it hurt really bad. Puking violently. I don't think I've ever puked like that before. I can't imagine what the women who were coming in and out, and there were plenty, were thinking when they heard all this and me moaning. Finally came out and my husband told me, "Oh my gosh, you look terrible." And I felt terrible. He went and got the car and got me. We didn't buy anything, by the way. We didn't even get that far. And I had this just terrible cramp and pain in my lower abdomen. We got back to my parents, which they live about 20 miles away from the city where this mall is at. And when I got home, my mom said I looked really gray, like the worst that I have ever looked. Probably within about a half hour to 45 minutes of being at my parents', just relaxing in a chair, I needed to go to the bathroom. And when I went to the bathroom and I sat down and I wiped, there was a lot of blood. I had already experienced a miscarriage, and if you're interested, I have a couple videos about miscarriage guilt and the science of meiosis and coping with miscarriage grief that you can watch. Check out the links that I have in my description or go to my channel page. But because of that, I figured that I was having another miscarriage. I was 11 weeks pregnant and that was going to be that. My dad and family were not that far away from the bathroom, and he said he'll never forget the cry I made when I called for my husband to come. I was devastated. I was sure it was over. And my mom said, just go to the ER. Just go to the ER, get things checked out, and just go. I told my husband on the way, I said, I'm not doing this again. I can't go through another pregnancy just to get it started to have another miscarriage. I can't do it. I'm done. As we drove to the ER, I was pretty resigned to the fact that the pregnancy was over. And when we got there, the nurse and the doctor, they did their evaluation and asked a lot of questions, and eventually the ultrasound technician came and did the scanning. But as she was scanning, my husband was peeking at the display, and he bumped me. He said, "I think I see something flipping around in there." And I'm like, whatever. I was done. Well, doctor came in and said, "Your baby is still alive. There's a strong heartbeat. It's a normal heartbeat. But what is going on is that you have a subchorionic hemorrhage. There is bleeding coming from between the protective sac of the baby and your uterus, and we don't know what's going to happen next." So I'm going to pause here and give you a little bit more information about subchorionic hemorrhages. If you are familiar with my channel, then you know about my science of videos. If you are new, I have a series of science of videos where I tell a story about something that I've experienced, and then I connect it to a concept in science and explain it and dig in a little deeper with it. I'm not going to dig in really deep, but I'm just going to give you a general information just to help you get this in case this is new to you. So I'm going to start with the word chorion, which is part of the word subchorionic. Chorion is part of the tissues that make up the protective sac surrounding the baby that infiltrate and connect with the mother's uterus tissues that help form the placenta. Sub means under or below. Hematoma is a pooling of blood. And then you have hemorrhage, which would be the bleeding, the coming out of blood. Now, I was diagnosed with a subchorionic hemorrhage because I was bleeding. But that meant prior I had a pooling of blood that was between the uterus and the baby's protective sac that was not bleeding yet. That would be called a hematoma. It's unknown for why I had a hematoma that turned into a hemorrhage. And I think that's probably the case for a lot of subchorionic hematomas and hemorrhages. Some women will have them that are identified on a scan, and I had not had a scan yet. And sometimes these hematomas can go away, but sometimes they end up like mine where they do cause bleeding to occur. And with this, the reason why then the doctor said we don't know what's going to happen next is the bleeding could stop and the pregnancy could go on and you could end up with a healthy baby, or the bleeding could get worse and that would eventually rupture the rest of the tissues that are connecting the baby to the uterus, and you could end up with a miscarriage. So my official diagnosis was a subchorionic hemorrhage and threatened miscarriage. So I was put on pelvic rest. I was told to take it easy and relax and don't do anything too active. Going back home to my parents' house, knowing that the baby was alive, that was joyous, but also there's like this 50-50 shot, flip a coin, what's going to happen? Am I going to have a miscarriage tomorrow while we're celebrating Christmas? Or am I going to have a baby in 8.5 months, 7 months? I don't remember. I was 11 weeks pregnant, so you do the math. So it was kind of a weird time, full of anxiety and stress. The thing that bothered me the most about all this, besides the emotional trauma of potentially losing another pregnancy, that was incredibly difficult. But the other thing that bothered me as a scientist, a science teacher, is that what caused this? I'm always looking for cause and correlation and looking for data and evidence to try to understand why things are the way they are. And I look back to what happened prior to me having the bleeding. So was the hematoma and something that was going on because of it, is that what caused my vomiting and diarrhea? Or was my vomiting and diarrhea that was caused by something else what caused the hematoma to end up breaching and bleeding out? I don't know. It makes me crazy, and I still wonder today what the deal was on that. The story does end well. I ended up having a healthy baby later that year, but there was a bunch of trials and tribulations that I had to get through first before that happened. Check out my future videos for more on that. Have you ever experienced bleeding during pregnancy? What's your story? What was your diagnosis and how did it turn out? Please share in the comments if you want. Did you enjoy this video? Please like it as well as subscribe for more content like this. Our experiences can teach us so much and I love sharing them with you. Thanks for watching.